Touchdown in 46 seconds. Punches back. Touchdown.
Welcome one, welcome all. Hope you had a great Christmas, Ken. We are here 1 minute late. You were absolutely right to do that. You know, I don't like being late at all. You know, Santa. I had a little bit of a family get together today. You know, it's my dad's birthday, the 26th, Felix. So the day after Christmas is the day we celebrate because apparently it's the big day. No, I'm kidding. But we had a good day yesterday and stuff. But yeah, today I was we went to a hibachi steakhouse, Fuji Steakhouse for those who know. It's you know what? MSG is a hell of a drug they put in food, man. That stuff is so good. That fried rice. I don't know if they use MSG, but man, that fried rice is the best fried rice I've had in a long, long time. And it's just so simple, right? It's just teriyaki, it's just egg and rice and all that. And you can't go wrong with steak, right? So I had a little family get together. It was late getting back. I got back about 20 minutes ago.
Jeez, I was taking a nap.
My dad and I were watching UTSA and Florida International University. We were, just having a good time. And I was like, it's time to lace up the boots and talk about Justin Herbert and O-line, Tyler Huntley and Malik Willis, and then C.J. Stroud. Luckily, we're Ohio State fans. So, we got you're not an Ohio State fan.
Nope.
Yeah, congrats on the hire today, though. Winning
Finally, we got somebody that's respectable.
That was probably the best case.
I know nothing about him, really, so it's going to be
if you're able to run a good program, like, especially in Utah and stuff, competitive in the NIL era, there's a lot to look forward to. But Richie Smalls is right. Smash that like for those watching. It's a 2-game slate, guys. And honestly, I am underwhelmed by the choices we have. And I feel, you know what I'm shocked by more than anything is the Chargers being favored. And I cannot believe it. We're going to go position by position and all. So, because we can talk about these games, but we can also talk about the individual quarterbacks. So we'll talk about the quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers and stuff instead of game by game like usual. But I could not believe it. And that's a testament to how good Justin Herbert is, though, Felix.
It really is.
He is doing this with the worst O-line in the league. And I don't want anyone ever hating on Justin Herbert because I genuinely think he is a top 5 quarterback. The problem is this Houston defense against this O-line is a recipe for disaster, man. And we can go ahead and just dive into it. But I really wanted your take on this Chargers game and where you're at, man.
So, like immediately you think of is that defensive line tearing us a new one. The problem is that I think it's the opposite defensive line. I think our defense, second half defense, is next to none better than everybody else's. We're going to lose our defensive coordinator to a head coaching position somewhere. And that's going to be sad. But Justin is just good enough to win games right now. He's not tearing it up. This is not enough time. QJ looked really good though, coming back. We have a lot of weapons right now. So Hampton's starting to look at again. So if we could just hold it together and maybe get the Pittsburgh Steelers in week 1 of the playoffs, like we're gonna look a little bit better there. Heck, there's even an outside chance now with us. Yeah, I think we might have lost it with the Denver winning, but I think there was an outside chance we still get that 1 seed.
Yeah, the 1 seed with Denver winning, I think that put the division almost out of reach, right? Because I think the Broncos finished with, God, I can't forget who. Because the last week, the Chargers next week, right?
Yeah,
that's what it is, right?
Yeah, then, we haven't lost in the division yet.
Yeah, with the Broncos winning, that brought them to 13 wins. Obviously, you guys have 4 losses, right? 11-4. Yeah. I don't know what that would do if I went to ESPN's playoff predictor because that would have a lot to do with next week. Obviously, we're talking about this week, but I still like that motivation, right? Because if you get this 5 seed over Buffalo, your reward is the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? And that's most likely the Pittsburgh Steelers, I should say. The Bills are obviously in the running too for the 5 seed. Avoid Jacksonville is kind of coming along lately a little bit, right? I think that's really notable. Houston, I mean, what can you say about them too? Just defensively, they really turned it around this year. The offense, I mean, it's still mediocre. It's not going to scare you or anything like that. But at the same time, 10 wins, they're good enough. I think they need to win 1 more game or Indianapolis needs to lose 1 more game, and they're automatically locked into the playoffs, most likely. this game will determine potentially if they would be in line for a 6 or a 5 seed, right? So if they lose this week and the Colts lose, they might be looking at 7 seed at best. So, I go into this machine here. I mean, the Broncos playing last night kind of threw me through a little bit of a loop. But if you go ahead and the Chargers win both games, it would flip the division. And if the Chargers win their next 2 games, they do get the division title. But that game's in Denver, but the Broncos are not a great team. We'll talk about that later. That defense got shredded by the Jags, and it didn't look good yesterday either.
No, yeah, I think there's a big hole there right now. I think something's wrong. They're missing something.
It's the QB.
And,
I mean,
well, he sucks.
We yearn. Oh, how does Phillip Rivers come in and take 5 years off and look halfway decent? It's because these quarterbacks don't know how to play quarterback. I swear. And Bo Nix played for 5 years in college, and all he did was short little, touch passes around the line of scrimmage. Look how accurate he is. Yeah, he's really good at throwing behind the line of scrimmage, and he's still really good at throwing behind the line of scrimmage. But there's so many errant throws in that Jags game because I had a really good Millie Sweat, Felix. Really good Millie Sweat. It had Sutton, it had Bryant, and it had Nix. I got 33rd in the Millie Maker last week, and none of those. Pat Bryant got hospital ball, by the way.
That was depressing to watch. I'll tell you that much.
I was sitting there, one big play, and he missed Sutton in the end zone on a wide open ball. I think that was a great play by the defensive lineman, though. But too many teams equal, some mediocre. How do we not have 32 good people who can play quarterback? How do we not have that? And it's disappointing. You even look at the college guys this year. All right, I'm not really that impressed by Fernando Mendoza, but at least he might have the it factor. You just need guys who can stand in the pocket. And there's no one in college football except for Mendoza.
I like the Oregon guy. The Oregon guy. He's pretty good.
No, I like Moore. Moore's fine. It's just you haven't really seen him against elite talent.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of looking forward to this week's college football game. So that's New Year's and New Year's Eve. I think we're going to do a college football show with Bruce and Big T at some point. We'll try and get that together because this college football game, the first week, they need to do away with it, or fix it or something. Because that was bad football, man. Bad.
Yeah, it was bad.
But we got NFL to talk about. Felix, big news was happening today was Jordan Love being rolled out probably about 6 hours ago. Malik Willis will take the reins, and honestly, it's the best spot here. We can honestly say that both the Chargers and Texans, arguably the Texans, the best defense in the NFL, and arguably the Chargers, a top 5 defense in the NFL, if not better than top 5. I mean, they really do check a lot of the boxes when you're looking at defenses. And before Jordan Love got hurt, Felix, or not just before he got ruled out, I should say, I made a lineup, and I was just kind of what's the best way to attack the slate? And I think everyone would do the same. And it's Malik Willis here at 5K. But it's I want to stack up as much Green Bay as possible. I'm even more open to Huntley. And that second game, to me, is much better for the quarterbacks. And I know what you're going to say about Herbert, right? And I agree. And you know me. I think Justin Herbert's an absolute dog. I am completely selling on this Chargers team. I'm sorry. I'm just doing it. But the good thing is it's in L.A. It could be a defensive slugfest. Last week, you're going to tell me he threw for 300 last week, and that Cowboys team is horrible. All right, at least they finally kind of regressed back to the mean. Their pass defense is still one of the worst in the league. But before that, 81 yards, 151 yards, 139 yards, 210 yards, right? And it's because of the O-line. The one thing that I will entertain you on is you're going to tell me that he's going to rush a lot, right? 66 yards, 42 yards in 2 of the last 3 games. I'm just kind of out on Herbert, and I'm out on Stroud, and it's going to lead me to stacking the second game up. But it's just I really wish I could back the Chargers here, Felix, but I just can't do it.
I'm going to say Justin Herbert is going to have a lot of rushing because that offensive line is going to give him 0 seconds to step back in the pocket. So there's going to be a lot of Will Anderson is coming off the edge and he's running up the middle. It's going to be a lot of that. But I'm kind of with you. I'm going to be smashing the second half game with both these quarterbacks. I'm very excited to play Malik Willis as everybody else is. He's a solid quarterback. He's not going to blow your socks off in the pocket. Obviously, we're all playing him for the rushing aspect of it. That's just plain and simple how everybody's going to be headed towards Malik Willis. I do think I'm going to have a lot of one-off plays here with the Chargers. And I won't completely shut out my Justin Herbert love just for the off chance that he goes off.
And it's a great point because, look, the Packers defense collapsed in that fourth quarter, right? In the fourth quarter and overtime, they absolutely collapsed. And they still were decent without Micah Parsons. I think that was a little bit of a surprise. Was the Bears were horrendous for 58 minutes of that game and still won it. Yeah. I think that Tyler Huntley's projection being 5 lower is, a little aggressive, right? Because I honestly think, and I like Lamar. Right? I lived in Louisville. I thought that, honest to God, like the way people talked about him there, he was like a Greek god. You're just sitting there like, man, everyone loved Lamar, right? And that was in 2020. So like he was already balling up in the NFL and everything. But it's like, everything about like Louisville football still rotated around. Remember when we had Lamar, the Heisman, right? And this year, with his injury concerns and that fractured relationship with Harbaugh, he's been horrible, right? Yeah. And I don't think the drop-off from Lamar to Huntley, and horrible by his standards, right? But Lamar to Huntley, as of right now, is that stark. And I think we saw it in that Patriots game where, he went out and the offense didn't really miss a beat. They scored, and honestly, they got away from Derrick Henry and stuff, but they're still going to be relying on the run. But, like, Lamar in this spot would be the highest projected quarterback, and rightfully so, right? Former, is he 2-time MVP, 3-time MVP, whatever it is. But, like, I still think Huntley offers some upside that, I'm willing to entertain. And if he's going to be 10% owned in a matchup where a lot of people weren't convinced of the Packers defense last week, I'm going to entertain it because in his few games that he's played, started the game against the Bears earlier this year, 186 yards, 53 yards on the ground. And there's a chance that all 4 of these teams play gross games, right? Like, both these games play really gross. And that could bring in Herbert. If he gets, 40-plus rushing yards, if he scores one on the ground, you don't really need to correlate a whole bunch with your quarterbacks this week either because all these guys have rushing upside. Malik Willis, Tyler Huntley, and Justin Herbert really have a lot of rushing upside. C.J. Stroud's the only guy who doesn't really have that upside, right? And I've always, like, even when he was back at Ohio State, you kind of wish that he just tucked and run.
Right. Like, sometimes he feel like he can get there. He just doesn't do it.
Yeah, and it's like, early in the season, we saw 32, 27, 22, 11, 30, 25, 30, right? And it was like, oh, man, maybe he's kind of – then over the last 4 weeks combined, he's got 15 yards. And, so, like, honestly, that's kind of puts Stroud at the bottom of my list for quarterbacks.
Same.
The one issue, though, Felix, is the best wide receiver on this. Like, look how gross wide receiver is. We're going to talk about wide receivers in a little bit, but I want people to look at – it's like everyone and their mama is going to be clicking Nico Collins tomorrow. All right, everyone, and there's no reason not to. But like C.J. Stroud, one bomb to Nico Collins. Like, oh yeah, we're there. I mean, you saw it. I'm not gonna. Arizona might be the worst defense right now. I can't wait to talk about it. We're not talking about the Sunday games, but like that.
That game. If you guys you're listening to this for the future, play everybody in that game. Everybody.
I've already tried, man. Trey McBride, Chase Brown, Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, all of them. Get everybody you can in that game. It's going to be a shootout. You have to have it.
It is so funny because like the Colts are also in that same ballpark of like being a really bad defense right now, right? But like
it's Sauce back this week, so
that is true. Yeah, Sauce is can cover up a lot of holes in that secondary, especially. Yeah. But like. Stroud threw for 260 against them and then like for 187 in a great match against Las Vegas last week, right? It's like, which Stroud are we going to get? It's a little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde situation. But like for me, it's Malik Willis 1, it's Huntley 2, it's Herbert 3. And I might think the Chargers put up 20 points tomorrow or 17 points, which is below their team total, Felix. But, it's not out of the question for Justin Herbert to get there with his legs and only his legs. And my big concern with Herbert, and I'm going to ask you this too, is what wide receiver at this point in the season do you trust him with? Because Ladd McConkey, we all loved him, right? Coming into the best ball season, it's not like he shined to that, to a total. Quentin Johnson had 2 huge plays last week. Yeah, Trey Harris is getting a lot more playing time. Are we forgetting completely about Keenan Allen? Is Gadsden going to be a little bit of a factor? So every time I look at Justin Herbert, and this could go into the point too of where you don't need to overstack your quarterback, despite it being a small slate. Yesterday, Felix, I almost got there. I did get there. I got there in a 20 max. I got first and second in a $3 20 max yesterday.
Nice.
And that was with Pickens and Lamb. And, not that but it's like they didn't really do all that well. But I wanted to overstack that because, like, I felt like the game environment and all the quarterbacks needed to get there through passing. Like Bo Nix, he got there with rushing, but still, it was that Dak Prescott being in the winner, which, an 86-yard bomb to Turpin can help, single things out a little bit. But like
I had a lot of Turpin yesterday, but man, I did not have the rest of the games.
Oh, this is what the big guy to have. The Minnesota Vikings defense was the big.
Yeah.
I did not trust Saber. I cost myself $300K. I had they in the 4-4-4. I only did one entry in the 4-4-4, but I had the absolute nuts apparently. But if I was Ingram and the Vikings defense instead, I went Oliver and the Lions defense, and it was a $300K swing. And they wanted me to go with the Ingram side. I was hurt because I didn't trust. I like to do my hand build, right? I still as much as I am at me, I still like to do a hand build, and it gave me that, and I was like, oh man, I should have trusted it.
Yeah.
But with Herbert, real quick, last week, Ladd McConkey ran the most routes with 30. QJ, 24. Gadsden, 21. Keenan and Trey Harris, 17. So, I mean, if you want to trust, I don't really trust QJ because I don't think he'll have time to get down the field for those big plays. But wasn't it this game that Ladd McConkey went off?
I was excited to bring him up. He will be on every single one of my lineups this coming week. I know. He can't play predictive off of
terrible. Wide receiver is terrible.
I'm personally fading 100% Nico Collins. He's my guy, Michigan man, Nico Collins. But I think, at the ownership, I got whooped. I forget who was high owned this past week at one of the tournaments. I was with the field, and I'm like, man, I feel stupid for being with the field on this high ownership guy. I'm going to be all over Ladd McConkey, though, at wide receiver. I think there's something about his gameplay that might affect this Texans defense, and he will be one of my the best plays of the week currently versus his ownership versus Collins' ownership.
Yeah, I mean, Nico is going to be close to 90% owned. I mean, you're going to see it where Pickens and Lamb kind of got nerfed a little bit, but they were the two best plays by far. But they were like 50 apiece, basically. But in single entries, they were even higher than that. With Nico Collins, you could definitely see around 80% because, I mean, maybe 90 is probably a little too aggressive because you're going to have all the salary in the world without a top tier quarterback with running backs who a little bit sketchy, and then there's no other spend up wide receivers. It's going to lead to a one way ticket to Nico. Mm-hmm. But goes into your point where maybe Herbert is a little bit better of a play, especially if he's around 27. I could see myself being even with the field over on Huntley, under on Stroud, and then kind of even with Malik Willis too.
Yeah.
Running back time. I want to trust Marion Hampton, right? Like I do. I think their best chance of winning this game is trying to establish it.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you were to go through the Texans last week, what did they struggle with, right? It was Genty. And I kind of come back to that. You get another rookie running back, a guy who's kind of fully healthy, right? Returning from injury, kind of now settles into this where it's a few weeks back now. They're rolling, right? And honestly, I really want to click Hampton. And I didn't really expect to say that, when I was kind of browsing through the slate. You're going to have four really high-owned guys. Jacobs is going to be the guy that probably be a little bit of a hot topic. But I wanted to hear your take on a Marion Hampton and then even, Woody Marks too. Just talk about this first game and what the running backs look like for you.
Yeah, Woody Marks coming off. I'm going to start with Woody. Coming off that injury, we don't know exactly what we're going to see because I don't think he played last week. We had a lot of Chubb. So Woody has kind of been kind of a disappointment for what I think he should be able to do. There's been times where he looks explosive, but then a lot of times it's a lot of checkdowns. He doesn't break a lot of tackles when he gets hit. He can look good against. I think the Texans are going to look good in the first half, kind of how it always happens against my Chargers, and then we're going to shut them down in the second half. So if Woody can get enough good work into the first half, I think he could look decent. But I don't know. He's the explosive play. That's what our Chargers defense is lacks against is the explosive running back. So I could see us getting us beat early by Woody and looking like if he has like 15 in the first half, like it could look bad, going into it. But I think Hampton is the better play at like the similar cost, just because they're going to use him every other day, every down. It feels like it was last week after you get that big lead, we were just relying heavily on the running game against the Cowboys.
I think that honestly needs to continue. And last week, Genty went 24 for 128. He also had one big catch for 60 yards and a touchdown against this Texans team. And even going back to, I don't really want to go back to that Cardinals game, right? But like you go back to potentially we can go to the Chiefs game, and they had, I guess Hunt didn't really have an efficient game, but they still ran the ball 21 times for 60 yards combined and a touchdown. Yeah. Mahomes went 7 for 59 against them. They did hold Jonathan Taylor 21 to 85. I'm just like trying to think of a way to attack this Texans defense because I don't want to ignore the Chargers. And Ladd McConkey's probably the way to do it. Hoping Herbert can get it done with his feet because he is so capable of that. I'm going to have a little bit of NFL trivia for you. All right.
Oh boy.
All right, just a little bit, right? I kind of want to break it up because I was kind of really wondering that myself. Where does Justin Herbert rank among quarterbacks, rushing yards wise?
Probably third.
All right, so you're gonna guess third. Josh Allen is number 1. He's got 550.
Starting to feel bad about this one. Okay.
Yeah, Justin Herbert is number 2, 400.
Okay.
Patrick Mahomes, shocking, number 3. I did not expect that. Yeah, I'm trying to make sure I didn't miss anyone, but that is 100%.
Yeah, well, a lot of the running quarterbacks have been hurt this year.
Yep, and some have got benched, too. Like Jackson Dart and Jalen Hurts is right behind Mahomes with 6 less yards. Then it's then it's May, and then Justin Fields has only played 9 games, appears. And Lamar's, just below Justin Fields and Caleb played.
I mean, at the beginning of the season, it felt like he was averaging 40 to 50 yards rushing.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because I just keep coming back to that. Maybe Herbert's a better play than I thought. Hampton, for those, Vidal ran 11 routes last week. Hampton 13. It does show that when like Ladd McConkey, for example, runs 30, they might be keeping the running back in a little bit more. I don't know how the NFL I do need to look at that. Like, are they grading if they just stay in the block? Are they grading that as a route, right?
Yeah.
I don't think they are, just based on the math there. Not even like a chip and like, trying to release out Woody and a Chubb. So I didn't know this. Woody scored early against the Cardinals. Got hurt before scoring, by the way. Came back and scored. That is the thing with Woody Marks.
Yeah,
he gets hurt every game.
I think that slate he was like 40% owned too.
I'm glad he scored, but apparently he gets hurt every single time he steps on that football field, right? Yeah. And most of the time he returns, right? Except in the Cardinals game, he didn't play in the second half. But it is funny, just like looking at that. It's like, don't be shocked tomorrow if Woody Marks gets hit too hard. All of a sudden, he's out of your lineup. But I want to trust Woody. He's clearly the guy. And this is such an important game, right? Like, I don't think we can understate the importance of it because the Texans are – what's the word for it, right? Like, hanging on to the 7 seed. You don't want to be the 7 seed. I don't think you want to go against the Patriots. There's a lot of reward to going against the Steelers at the 5 seed, right? Like, if you get the 5 seed here and, obviously you need the Bills to fumble it a little bit, right? Or hell, you might even be forced to play the Bills, right? Like, there's a decent chance that you play the Bills in, the playoffs. So getting out of that 7 seed is going to be a little bit of a big deal. The Bills, they get the Eagles this week. That would be kind of a tell-all. And then the Jets next week. While the Patriots, I assume, they got the Dolphins in Week 18 and then the Jets this week. So probably just a decent chance that the Bills are going to lock in a wild card spot. But still, like, I think Woody Marks is going to be in line for a full workload. I know that his durability can definitely be questioned. Fans of the Texans, I was kicking myself after seeing that. You're expecting more. He is only averaging 3.5 yards a carry. He can be involved in the pass game. It's like a lot of mediocre stuff, but at the same time, the running back position is mediocre as a whole. I want to ask you, salary doesn't matter, right? Who put it in? Yeah,
salary does not matter at all this week.
So salary doesn't matter. It's like, I wish I could say, like Malik Davis yesterday ended up being an incredible option, and obviously, it was because Javonte got hurt, but even before he got hurt, he was a little bit involved. And, it's not like you can do that tomorrow. It's not like, you can be like, I can't wait to go like Emmanuel Wilson for leverage or Nick Chubb. It's like you're not gaining anything. So like you're forced to click on at least 2 of these, probably 3, because look at the wide receivers. Only Nico Collins and Zay Flowers are projecting for more than all 4 of these running backs. So yeah, I mean, it's a very mediocre position. I don't think you have to be hell-bent on any single player tomorrow. If I ranked them, Felix, like we haven't really talked about the Ravens and Packers yet, but like I think it's Henry number 1.
I've been saying that. Yep.
And I'm gonna put Hampton 3. And the reason why I say that is like I can't trust Woody Marks either. I just can't do it.
Woody's at 4 for me. It's definitely Henry. For me, it's Henry, Hampton, Jacobs, Woody. Just because Jacobs is spending a lot of time with Emmanuel. So
Henry's been spending a lot of time with Keaton too. Didn't play 50.
Dude, he is on the hot. Like he's probably already fired, mentally. But if he does,
Lamar isn't going to be on the Ravens staff or team next year, right?
Something, yeah. And I think if he does what he did last week, I mean, Keaton. As much as I love Keaton, don't get me wrong, he was averaging like 1 point something yards per carry, and it's like Derrick Henry's like ripping off 20-yard runs and like averaging 7 yards a carry.
Last week he was he fumbled, but
still like I don't know, man.
9 carries for 13 yards. Okay, let's play a game though. Like talking leverage, right?
Yeah.
Last week 9 for 13 for Keaton, not impressive. The week before though, against the Bengals, 8 for 66. Derrick Henry 18 for 128 last week against the Bengals. What was it? Just 11 carries compared to Keaton's 8. So I don't like doing it, but if you're talking like a milli maker, the touches could be within 5. Keaton Mitchell, direct leverage, completely unknown compared to his, boss man, Derrick Henry, where you just such a stud at 65%. It's like, is there leverage in clicking Keaton? Is there leverage in clicking Emmanuel Wilson tomorrow? And I already said salary doesn't matter, but like it takes one long run. Like Keaton Mitchell already this season, 6 for 76 against the Steelers, 8 for 66 against the Bengals. What if one of those, resulted in a touchdown? Then all of a sudden it's a different story. I'm just trying to paint a picture because again, I think Harbaugh is like tired of that shit, right? Where I genuinely think he is just like tired of it. He's like, we never play Derrick Henry when we're chasing a game. Why would I change that now? At the same time, I can see them force feeding him a little bit to start the game. So like Henry's going to be number 1 for that reason. But like if I'm fading Henry, like I might not be afraid to get a little bit of Keaton in. What happened last week with Josh Jacobs? Was he hurt? Was that it?
I'm not entirely sure. I really don't know, but I know that he came in questionable last week, right? So maybe there was an idea like, hey, we're going to limit you in the second half for some reason. The second half, to let you heal up, get another weekend before we have.
He was looking good. He was looking good.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I struggle there because I think like you said, Emmanuel Wilson at 14 for 82.
He looked good too.
36. Now, let's play a game. All right, let's play a game. Emmanuel Wilson was the one who went 14 for 82. Maybe they just went with the high hand. Josh Jacobs, every running back's going to be like 60% tomorrow because most people or half the people might play 3 running backs on a lineup. All these guys. That's the problem, right? You got one guy's going to clock in at 65, the next at 60, 55, 50. So like your only chance to get really different at the running back spot is going to be a guy like Emmanuel Wilson. Do they ride the hot hand again? And are you potentially looking at Emmanuel Wilson out snapping and out touching Josh Jacobs yet again?
I don't know. Like, LaFleur is such a weird guy. I never really understand his game plans. But with Malik Willis back there at quarterback, and if they have no offense, but this Baltimore team is kind of like suspect right now, kind of like how everybody's quiet quitting on every teams that are eliminated from the playoffs. I could kind of see them quiet quitting here and Derrick Henry, taking a few plays off or coming up limp, with an ankle thing. and we get a huge Keaton Mitchell game. I could see it happening. I can also see, like, we're winning. Let's give him more of the workload to Wilson, get, his rapport with Malik Willis or something. I don't really understand, like, quarterback or coaches thinking there, but I could see, like, both backups here getting more work in the second half than both the starters.
I'm starting to trust Emmanuel Wilson a little bit. The more we look at it, and I want to follow up on your point here. The Ravens, this game matters a lot to them because if they win, they have a chance to still win the division. The Steelers could put that to bed by winning this week or the Ravens losing. This is why the NFL's greed is just so gross and so sickening that they're putting games that impact other teams way ahead of time. So the Steelers have a chance to rest guys in back-to-back weeks, for example. The same with Week 18. They did it last year. The Bengals played Saturday. The Chiefs knew that if they lost, then they would have to see, they wouldn't have to see Joe Burrow in the playoffs, right? So it's all this gross stuff. And the Chiefs would have rested anyone anyway. But I'm just talking about, like, this position here is you put the Ravens on a Saturday night. Well, they have to win. And then the Steelers, knowing that result, can either, not have to play really that hard against the Browns. And they still have to win, though. They have a chance to make the playoffs. I don't think they'll quiet quit because they've already been in this position several times in the past where, Tyler Huntley started a playoff game and almost won that game in Cincinnati, right? Like, it's kind of ultimately, like, I can trust Harbaugh to get his guys up for it. I mean, I think the rift between him and Lamar is unrepairable, but overall, I think Harbaugh is going to get the best out of his guys, and I'm going to trust Henry. But like you said, embrace variance a little bit. And I wanted to bring this up. Greg Branos, Coach Speak Index. I know I mention it almost every week now, but does a great job. You can sub to his Patreon. I think it's like $7 or $8 a month or something like that. But it's amazing for all these coach press conferences and stuff. This one caught my eye. You ready? Post-game presser with LaFleur. This really kind of sold me on Emmanuel Wilson just now. Matt LaFleur. I don't know if Josh Jacobs is injured or not. I was not told that. So, does that not just scream like, I mean, we're going to ride with the hot hand, and right now it's been Emmanuel Wilson, and Josh Jacobs has been healthy for some time?
Yeah. That's exactly what he's saying there, that I can't really I can trust Jacobs, but I'd rather go with someone that looks good. Like,
and it's funny because, the past couple weeks before that, Jacobs got 12 carries for 73 yards against the Broncos, right?
Yeah.
Emmanuel Wilson barely touched the rock. Could LaFleur do something similar to the Bears game? I don't know. I'm just going to say, I'm not going to core Emmanuel Wilson. I'm probably still going to stick with the core running backs overall, those core four.
Mm-hmm.
But I might have a little bit more of a splash of Wilson because of what we saw. And for those people who are trying to win, a top prize of $250K, let's say Wilson does exactly what he did last week. Well, now for a chance to win first, you have to have Wilson. Only 4% of the field has him. You'd be looking pretty good. So, the Baltimore D, I mean, it's been better, but, man, you saw it. They really defended the run well last week, even when Travion went out and stuff. But Stevenson didn't really get anything going until that last run in the fourth quarter. But the Baltimore defense, their secondary is still the spot to attack them, though, too. Wide receiver, for the people who might be, kind of out of sync or, skip through the quarterbacks, wanting to hear about wide receiver, TLDR, you really like Ladd McConkey this week.
Yeah.
You don't really love Nico Collins, but you can go through that again if you want. But I'm on Zay Flowers, and I hate Zay. Me, I've taken his under several times. But last week kind of clicked. I truly think that Harbaugh is like, screw it. This is going to be my last couple games of Ravens coach, or maybe Lamar gets traded. Zay Flowers is going to get peppered. 7 for 84. And I feel like there was only the one catch, and that was the fumble in the fourth quarter, too. A couple weeks before that, 8 for 124 as well. And 3 for 68 the week before, with the touchdown against the Bengals. So I think Zay Flowers, and again, not many receivers project for double digits, but Zay Flowers is the easiest click for me, while Nico Collins is second easiest. And then you kind of convinced me on Ladd McConkey. But how many people are just going to go ahead and just be like, all right, I'll go Nico. I'll go Zay Flowers. I'll go Ladd McConkey, because that's what you can do tomorrow.
Yeah.
So outside of those three, Felix, and again, you're not on Nico, so you're probably already going to have a different take. But outside of those three, talk to me. Who are your favorite receivers on the slate?
So obviously, I'm a Chargers guy, so I'm going to be, depending on how many lineups I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be sprinkling in Quentin Johnson, Keenan Allen, and Trey Harris. Just like if I'm doing, I'll probably max the $3, 20 max. I'll probably do that, and then I'll sprinkle all the same. And in the Millie Maker, though, I'm going to probably just be sticking with Ladd. I am going to stick with Flowers, and I'm probably going to go with Dobbs. Just I've missed on Dobbs so many times in my life, but that dude just has a knack for getting into the end zone on these 20-yard touchdown passes. I feel like they're going to nickel and dime, and then every once in a while they're going to throw it deep. And yes, Watson is there for their usual deep plays, but I think he kind of has a little bit of a fit with Dobbs. So, and then Higgins is okay.
I like Jaden Higgins a little bit. Trey Harris and Keenan Allen the same routes last week. So I look at Keenan, and I've caught on to this trend. I haven't been on Keenan at all since what was like week 12 or something. So I'm not going against anything there. But last week, 17 routes. That's been kind of par for the course. When Ladd runs 30, a guy like Keenan is probably out there 50% of the time. You go to week 15, and the trend continues, right? 30 routes for Ladd, 20 for Keenan, which was a little bit higher, while Trey Harris ran 28. But again, QJ was out that week. So, put a little slight asterisk on it. When QJ was healthy, Keenan 29. When Ladd got 40, Trey Harris was the one at 12. What do the coaches say after that game? Trey Harris has earned his opportunity. And since then, he's been getting the same, if not more work than Keenan Allen. First drive last game, it was Trey Harris. I think you got a couple catches right away from Justin Herbert. 5 targets, same as Keenan Allen. So I look at it this way. I don't like Keenan at 27%. I love Trey Harris at 1%. That will update closer to lock. I think that will Keenan will go down to 20. Trey Harris will go up to like 5. But I think Trey Harris is a guy where if I'm really getting different on this slate, and a guy who Justin Herbert clearly likes, the coaching staff clearly likes, I think Trey Harris is the guy who can kind of unlock the slate a little bit, kind of like Turpin did. And not to say that, Trey Harris gets one catch, he's going to go 86 yards to the house. That was the only thing that Turpin did. But he's got the ability to. And I think you have a chance on a 2-game slate to get someone unknown who is playing the third largest role. I guess if you want to throw him behind Gadsden, but like 5 targets last week. Over the last couple of weeks, he's had, the second most targets in the entire team. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Well, second most targets in the entire team. Yep. Guess who he's behind? Keenan Allen. Because QJ was out. Yeah. Just throwing that out there. But, I like having a guy at 1% with a decent role. I know it's a terrible spot. I know I already talked shit about Justin Herbert in terms of this offensive line. But I can see myself clicking Trey Harris. Last week, Jaden Reed barely played. Yeah. I was genuinely pissed
I don't
off.
understand it. Yeah.
You said you dropped out of the QB spot. I'm sorry. That DJ Moore catch got me into the cashing line. I somehow got away with it because wide receiver was also awful last week too. And Keenan Allen had one big play. I think it was in overtime. I don't know. And he had the big catch. But last week, Jaden Reed was out there for every play, but only 3 catches for 35 yards, 3 targets only. Christian Watson, 6 targets, 17 yards. Romeo Dobbs, what did you say? 5 catches, 84 yards, and a touchdown. Luke Musgrave, we'll talk about tight ends in a second too, but Musgrave probably my favorite tight end on the slate.
Same.
I look at Jaden Reed and Watson. I look at Dobbs. Malik Willis is going to be pretty popular tomorrow. None of these guys are going to go under the radar except maybe Dobbs. And it's the recency bias, which kind of usually it's like the recency bias is Romeo Dobbs went off last week. Yeah, he might get steamed up a little bit here, but it doesn't feel like that's happening at all, Felix. And, for good reason, people are going to be trusting Christian Watson and Jaden Reed. But you saw it last week where, who does Malik Willis trust? And is it Romeo Dobbs? And honestly, I'm starting to think that, probably yeah.
Yeah, I think it is. Who's a Turpin type play for this slate is Savion Williams. Like something like he's getting a little bit more introduced into the running game. It hasn't. I just looked at last week. He wasn't introduced into the passing game at all, but somebody that could hit a big play for like a random trick play or somebody going deep is Savion Williams that you need to have like a sprinkle to. It's somebody that they, later in the season, you got a rookie you need to be on the lookout for Savion.
Yep. I mean, it makes sense. It does. I'm selling slightly on Keenan. Obviously. Higgins, let's go to this too. I'm not on Houston all that much. And this is just funny because I think Houston's a really good bet tomorrow. But I didn't really like Woody Marks. I didn't love Stroud. And I'm sitting there. It's kind of funny, but it's like Nico, I guess, can kind of assume that role because we're not talking about Nico, Zay, and Lad all that much. But like you're getting different by maybe getting away from Nico tomorrow, which would obviously make you different. But like raw score, 11 points could get you in the winner easily. So like that's the problem I keep running into where if you want to get too cute, you need one of these cheapies to really perform. And, Trey Harris is my guy. But Houston Texans last week against the Las Vegas Raiders, one of the worst secondaries in the league. Higgins ran 23 routes. Nico ran 30. Use Nico as the baseline. Higgins 23. Christian Kirk 22. All right. Xavier Hutchinson all the way down to 14. Cade Stover 10. I can be talked into, again, if you're going to give me guys a sub 2% at a really bad position tomorrow, I'll take Kirk, I'll take Higgins, and I'll take my chance on hoping to get a double-digit fantasy performance that is good enough to be in the winner. And it happens. It happens all the time. Turpin, yesterday, and wide receiver was really bad yesterday. Turpin ended up in the winner. So don't be afraid outside of these top three. Hell, play Trey Harris in the utility over one of those running backs too. Running back, they're 2 gross games, 2 low totals, 1 play, one good game. Trey Harris, second most targets on the team the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, literally 1 play can take you from a winner to out of the scoring and out of the money. As I found out last week, I was having a pretty good week until that last throw.
That DJ Moore, which wasn't a catch, by the way, terrible throw.
But he had 120 yards and 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. He's not a good quarterback. I don't care what anybody says.
Facts. Thank you, Felix. So like I said, pay attention to ownership. Just be mindful, right? It's really easy to have 9 dudes 50% owned tomorrow. Just be careful with that. All right. Christian, what's going on, man? If you go to your NBA stuff and hit late swap and you have it up prior hand and then like rebuild swaps after all the games have locked, like make sure to refresh where you can still see rebuild swaps and then run your contest sim. You'll get an accurate representation of your ROI. But you have to late swap at least once before then. All right. Your max should change if you're doing the late swap stuff, but you need to have the correct pool. So you have to have the pool that you're currently with right now. So like that's why the late swap matters because it still might be doing from your 5,000 lineups where the winner was in one of those 5,000 lineups, right? But if you get it concentrated to just your 150 lineups or your 20 lineups or your 3-entry max, that is the way to do it. Chris, hope everything is well, man. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you too, Christian. Broccoli Taco. Hope you guys are doing well, man.
Yeah.
Good stuff. I mean, that's the wide receiver position. Don't be afraid to get unique. All right. So chalk up these top 4 being in the winner. All right. Tight end. You know what? I mean, I said Musgrave is my favorite, but like if I'm playing a cheap wide receiver, it's really easy to get Dalton Schultz. Like really easy, right? What's the most salary you can leave? And I think the answer is you could easily leave $3K and feel comfortable. Yeah. Especially if you're not playing Schultz. Because if you're playing a guy like Musgrave who kind of clicked a little bit last week with Malik Willis, just a bit.
I agree.
Schultz, though, you're so safe. 5 for 35 and 1 last week, 26 routes on the field basically the entire game. I'm not going to speak bad about Dalton Schultz, right? Last week, though, Luke Musgrave out in the field almost every route. Jaden Reed ran 26. That led the team. Musgrave was second with 24. 3 catches, 38 yards, all right? And this is also like a pretty unique thing where I already mentioned those top 3 wide receivers, right? If you chalk them in, but like you could even do 2 tight ends. I think there is upside with each of these tight ends. Like, let's be honest. We can think negative thoughts about Andrews, Likely, Gadsden, Musgrave, but at the same time, they have they are one touchdown away from potentially being in the winner. That's how bad the slate is. And If you get a 2-touchdown game from Schultz and like all of a sudden Musgrave pops up with a touchdown, a 2 tight end winner is easily in the cards because there's not a whole lot of high floor plays where, if you get 12 out of your utility, you could be ahead of the field. And before people call that stupid, it's like Lamb and Pickens didn't really seem to affect your tournament chances yesterday, right? Like, if you still had them, you still could have easily shipped, single entry and 20 entry maxes and stuff. Sure, you needed the nuts, you needed Turpin to be in like, the flagship stuff. But again, I can make the case for Musgrave. He's going to be out in the field the entire time. Malik Willis is going to be a popular play. Musgrave's ownership will go up. I think he'll get closer to 15 to 20% because of Malik Willis and because of all the routes he ran. The only guy that, I say this too, like the only guy, the red flags for me are on the Ravens. 22 routes last week for Zay Flowers is the most on the team.
Yeah.
Rashad Bateman, 17. You don't get to Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely until 12. And they're 3rd and 4 on the team. But Hopkins ran a bunch of 10 routes. Ricard ran 6. Kolar ran 6. Rasheen Ali and Keaton Mitchell were involved. So where even Derrick Henry only ran 3 routes, which is so funny because like people wanted him to be out there in a 2-minute drill or some shit. Is it just those top 3? Can you trust the Ravens? Can you trust Harbaugh to give Andrews or Likely the chance to be in the winner?
Maybe it's an old man headed me. I just like Andrews. I like that he can block and catch the ball very seamlessly. He has a rapport with Huntley going back a few years now, and it's like I think they could have a nice decent game here. Yeah, honestly, we go Huntley and Musgrave. I maybe it's because I'm a Charger head and I'm just like trying to cheer against the Texans and fade their top pass catchers. But I'm probably gonna be headed that direction and just hope that we don't get out too far ahead where they're just getting a bunch of dump off passes. I hope it's close and we just it's a lot of 3 and outs with the Chargers taking the lead late, and then we can get not a shootout but a nice little. I think the defenses to be attacked are in the second game. They're better defenses, than that, like the league on the upper half, I should say. But I think the Texas defense and the Chargers defense are so far ahead of those two defenses that these tight ends are going to look a lot better overall than the other two.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. If you do get away from Schultz and Nico, you're gonna have to no worries about being unique.
Yeah,
Right?
dude. I would be saving so much money too. Like I would half my life is gonna be like 3 to 4K probably on the board.
Now we get someone speaking my language though. Josh Wiley, Cincinnati. This is a shout. It's certainly a shout. You know me, I'm a sucker for those UC guys. Last week, he ran. Is Fitzpatrick out, I assume?
I think he had a concussion the previous week. Or no, he played last week. 1 target.
Yeah, and before that, though, I remember Musgrave and him were splitting time. And you're right. Holy cow. I think John Fitzpatrick is going to be missing out this week. I can't confirm that yet. It looks like I'm going to have to go to Twitter because you can't Google anything anymore. Their AI just spits out stupid facts, and AI is just generally awful when it's used by these large companies where they just spam stuff with it. John Fitzpatrick, is it a concussion?
I'll be honest, I spit that off the top of my head. I do not know.
Yeah, Achilles. Oh,
Achilles. Okay.
Man, hold on. Alex, you're speaking my language here. You guys. Oh, why did I just go to here?
Yeah, we just use our crowd information here.
Yeah, you beat me to the news here. Playing some pot limit Omaha. Oh, nice, man. That's awesome. So hit the contest sim button. I was refreshing the website. Yeah, hit the contest sim, but make sure, again, it's isolated to just the lineups that are currently active right now. And you don't want to save those. Make sure that just the lineup pool is just the lineups that you have in. And then when you do the contest sims, it'll do that. So, Alex, this is a good one because what was it, week 15 that so we had the Packers on back-to-back Saturday shows, right?
Yep.
Luke Musgrave ran 24 routes. John Fitzpatrick ran 25. And we made a note of that. And that's why we didn't love Musgrave last week.
Yeah.
And he ended up being an okay play. If you would have told me, he would run 24 routes. But Josh Wiley could be a guy where it's interesting for large field. I think you would also get like a ton of information if Schultz and Gadsden both kind of underwhelm in that sense in the first game too, Alex, where what if Wiley could be the top scorer on the entire slate? What if he were to run, 15, 18 rounds or something like that? I don't hate it purely because we already saw John Fitzpatrick run more routes than Musgrave just 2 weeks ago. Are they going to trust Musgrave? I think yes. But on a 2-game slate, I don't mind getting funky with this stuff.
I don't mind either, just because like the previous week, Love was playing, and they might have just kept the same similar concepts of what they were going to run with Malik Willis on the field. But coming into this week, knowing that Malik Willis is most likely going to play, maybe they run more 12 set, like a bigger package, and they might play both like a lot more.
I'm going to entertain the hell out of that in Showdown, by the way, Alex. I'm going to do that. I'm 100% on that in Showdown even. They do like their 2 tight end sets. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. They're not going to go away from that.
Yeah.
Fitzpatrick ran 25. Musgrave ran 24 2 weeks ago. Wiley could easily get 15. I mean, he was battling with Chigokonkwo last year for the tight end 1 spot in Tennessee. So he's not a scrub. All right, defense time. And just to be clear on the Andrews Likely thing, I kind of want to go back to that real quick.
Oh, yeah.
I trust Andrews over Likely.
Yeah.
I just wanted that to be clear. Is Likely back-to-back goose eggs. The drop against the Steelers, where it was probably a touchdown to begin with and stuff, but then the fumble the week before against the Bengals, what was that, Thanksgiving? Yeah.
He screwed me over too many times about with it.
The situation's weird. Why do they extend Mark Andrews? Like I don't get it. The whole Baltimore reeks right now. They just reek. I wouldn't be surprised to see Harbaugh go. Even though I love Harbaugh as a coach, I wouldn't. Same. Defense. Man, yeah. I'm on the Texas defense as my favorite. We already talked about all these games in general, but like, look, you know me, man. Like, the Vikings defense, no one would have suspected them to be in the winner yesterday, right? They expected everyone to kill them, and the Lions defense scored 14 less despite holding Rosmer to just 56 passing yards. So I just don't want to get away from it. But I think with sacks is how they get there.
I was going to say, there's just no way where we don't give up 5 sacks in this game, at least, And if there's that pressure, there could be some ducks thrown.
That's the thing I keep coming back to. And I think you're going to see my guy, Kamari Lassiter, who gave me belt to ass in 2K last year. I think he's going to have a pick 6 tomorrow. That's my bold call. Texans defense, my favorite. Chargers defense would be my second favorite, though, Felix, because, again, I think I'm slightly more focused on that second game. I wanted to throw this out there too. Then I would go Packers and Ravens. I don't want to respect the Packers too much though, because there is a chance where what if they just drop back 15 times and Derrick Henry runs wild? Well, what's your chance? What if they get 2 touchdowns? You're going to be looking for points and you might not get them. So I think the Chargers and Texans definitely my favorite too. But if I am playing Justin Herbert tomorrow, I would love a double stack of like a Ladd McConkey and a Trey Harris or a QJ at 25%.
Yeah.
I know I said that you don't really have to stack, but the more I look is like, you can get some unowned stacks where it's Stroud, it's Nico, it's Higgins, right? Not Schultz, right? Or maybe all 3. But you can, if you try and get the good quarterback performance tomorrow, and that could be very limited, I guess I'm okay to completely overstack it overall. But your favorite defenses, who is it?
It's the Chargers, obviously.
It's hard to go. The Chargers defense is really good. I mean, you said it.
Our defensive backs are really good. So I can see Tony Jefferson shutting down Nico, and we shut down the tight end with Henley, and then Henley with the safety, and then our Henley coming off the edge. We could easily be sacking good old CJ Stroud for 5 sacks and
nothing special. You're right.
Yeah, and going back to it, I mean, if you really think about it, this is another Michigan-Ohio State matchup anyways with Harbaugh versus Stroud. He got the best of us last year, right? But I think the vibes are a little bit different, this year. Our Chargers
it's completely different.
I
I always say this, Felix. Burrow got hurt, but he probably wasn't saving the season. But if there was one team that I could turn injuries off this year, it would have been the Chargers, just because Alton Slater being out turned this offense into what I think would have been one of the best to struggling to tread water.
I will be betting like $100 a week on my Chargers next year just to make the Super Bowl next year. Dude, we are so good offensively with no offensive tackles, and I think our defense, as long as we don't lose our defense coordinator here, I think we are going to destroy the Texans, at least in the second half. If it gets close, you're going to see us destroying the Texans in the second half.
I can't. As a football fan, gotta love these two teams. Like anyone who hates on Herbert, that Herbert hate is so forced. I mean, that dude.
Yeah, dude. He wanted to celebrate with his team and not talk to a reporter. Get over yourself.
You know how it is. I mean, you know how it is. I mean, same company will, compare Jokic to Paul Pierce, and I think that's normal. But Rance, congrats, man. Glad you had a decent day. Roll that into more. I mean, that Nugget stack, yes. That was game of the year, I think. Thunder Rockets to start the season was really good, too. But, it was some good
stacked that team.
I didn't watch on Netflix either game for the second year. I watched it on the sportsbook, but I didn't log into Netflix, and they were talking to Emmitt Smith, and I only got to see the screen in half the size. I said, screw it, I can't stand this. You couldn't even hear who was catching the ball or anything like that because you couldn't even see it. It's just terrible.
No, I had Chris Rodriguez in a lot of my lineups, like with a little bit left to go, and I wasn't really paying attention. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta switch all these out, and then I had a lot of Javonte and I don't forget whoever else went out. Oh, I had a lot of Jake Ferguson, and I'm like, come on, like I was like, I'm done watching, so I didn't watch any of the Netflix stuff either.
Man, depends on which sport, Christian. If you told me to stick to one, just an overall picture. I mean, obviously you have, Jamaica would be track and field, especially on the track version of it. And then, you look at all these European countries. I mean, Germany and France and soccer. I mean, even England produces some excellent talent. That's such a broad question. Like, Serbia's got one of the best tennis players ever. One of the best basketball players.
And if you're looking at UFC, you got Turkestan or wherever those people are from.
I mean, I think the safest answer, if you paint it with a broad brush, man, it's got to be the U.S. And if you just look at Olympic medals, is it China?
Probably, yeah.
Is it China? But like, if you're talking about like pure athletes, like track and field and stuff, I mean, it's probably not. I mean, it's probably, gosh. Because you got distances dominated by like, you have Africa, which isn't a country, it's a continent. But then the Europeans are mixed in like in a bunch of these events. But I don't think it's isolated to just one country. That's a tough one. I thought you were phrasing it for Serbia. That's why I brought them up specifically. But if you're talking about a high-end talent, I think it would be. All right, enough stalling. I got a play of the day to do. We got we got an ante. I think we know your ante at this point. It's the Texans. It's one of Nico and Schultz. But ante play and play of the day. For the play of the day, because everyone's so high out, can we get someone less than 25% now? That's my only caveat. I'm cheating because I already knew my answer to this, but I know that I like the Texans defense a lot. People are gonna accuse me for cheating here, but I'm gonna go 2 wide receivers. And I just want it because they're both in a very similar situation in their careers. They're both in the same game. That's pretty gross. But it's Jaden Higgins and it's Trey Harris. I think one of those guys at unowned ownership have a really good chance of being in the winner. They've both been very involved in their team's offense in recent weeks. Higgins even getting the second most routes at the wide receiver position behind Nico Collins. If you play Stroud and you're playing Nico and Schultz, why not throw in Higgins over a guy like Christian Watson, at your utility, over a guy like Josh Jacobs in your utility, right? Don't be afraid to overstack him. The same thing with Trey Harris, where his role keeps on increasing. Last week started off hot, got a couple catches in the first drive, ends with 5 for 54. there is just a bunch to like about unknown wide receivers on a slate where wide receiver is really bad. If you're going to get about half the routes, maybe even 60% of the routes, it's worth the leverage over guys who are even 25% more owned than him. So Trey Harris and Jade Higgins, my two plays of the day where it's unowned, ownership included. I could have told you Nico. I could have told you Zay Flowers. We want to get you a guy who's under-owned. My anti-play of the day, I mean, I think I'm going to just go with Woody Marks, and that's because I'm just kind of a little bit uneven on him. He always gets hurt, always gets nicked up. He's going to go to the blue tent at some point tomorrow. Will he return? Probably. But I think the Chargers rushing defense will be able to hold him. I think the Chubb could be a little bit more of a factor too. I just think Woody Marks, hell, even Josh Jacobs, a little bit sketchy to me tomorrow. What do you think, Felix?
No, yeah, I'm 100% bored with you with your anti-play with Woody Marks. I do think he comes off at one point and we see some Chubb, which can actually mix things up if they get down to the goal line. But yeah, I'm with you. I think it's a great call on Woody Marks. I also like your plays of the day, both of the wide receivers. If we want to tag a couple more low-owned wide receivers, I think low-owned plays. I like Dobbs and I like Musgrave at low ownership there. And my anti-play of the day, pretty obvious as we talked about it with Nico Collins and honestly Dalton Schultz. I think the Chargers defense goes out of the way to shut them down, and we can beat somewhere else.
All right, man. Perfect. Yeah. Appreciate y'all for watching. Have a great rest of y'all's night. Hope you had a great Christmas. Hope you have a great New Year's. Plenty of content ahead. Plenty of sports to play. It's bowl season. Get off and go watch FIU and UTSA finish up. That's the great thing. But again, appreciate you guys for watching. One more show of the season. That'll be next week. There's 2 Saturday games. So Felix, I think we will be doing another Friday night show if that's all right with you. So it's easy to talk about the 2 games. But again, that's the one thing I got to say. Don't be afraid to be different tomorrow, right? Don't be afraid to get off a little bit of that chalk. Don't be afraid to leave 2K salary, right? Win a tournament for Felix and I. Appreciate y'all for watching. Have a good one. Bye-bye.